I feel that I am going through somewhat of an awakening, a realization. And perhaps this started a while ago, and I'm doing a lot more of just like eye opening shit right now. And it's very fascinating. It's sort of a strange thing to realize that you have been comfortably unhappy, right? You ever found yourself just like unhappy but comfortable and like almost too comfortable to do something about it? It's also kind of strange to admit, because like I don't consider really anything a sign of weakness. I don't really look at labels. What I do is I look at behavior, I look at patterns, and I ask why. There's no shaming here. There's no guilt here. This is entirely a safe space. I'm really just very interested in getting at the root of why the faucet is fucking spitting out poison, right? And the poison in this case is the unhappiness. And fortunately enough, I'm aware of myself enough to know why everything in my life is the way that it is. I look specifically at patterns, right? If anything in my life is just going odd, or there are like any kinks, anything that like stops flow, um, I look at the root, and the root usually provides pattern, right? And the pattern is the behavior that consistently takes place that leads to that, right? Um, it's just fascinating to me because um, for different reasons, and I'm not going to say why, but I have found myself consistently unhappy in life. And, I take responsibility for my unhappiness. I'm not here to point the finger at anything outside of me. Every single thing that I have done in my life, maybe earlier on in childhood, is kind of like excluded, or, that's an exception because there was a lesser sense or a lack of necessary awareness back then. But every single thing that I've done in my life has been my choice, right? So, when I look at the patterns of codependency that I learned, again, not going to say why the codependency has been there, but being codependent, you know, I've made many videos on codependency as well, but I've made videos on enmeshment. Enmeshment fucking sucks. Codependency fucking sucks. It leads to a whole fuck ton of unhappiness. It really does. I would argue a lot because a person that's codependent doesn't really, I mean, if they continue to live a life of codependency, they don't really ever get to know themselves because there's no healthy sense of individuation and differentiation, right? The differentiation there, right? The healthy sense of differentiation. When you're codependent, you don't have healthy boundaries. So that healthy sense of differentiating between self and other does not take place. It's not there. So you usually tend to live a life of people pleasing and appeasing. You self-sacrifice. You don't really do what you want to do because if you do, it means maybe being alone, right? And being alone is not a bad thing. It's not a matter of good or wrong, good or bad, right or wrong. Being alone is actually a very healthy thing because when a person is alone, they get to spend more time by themselves. When they get to spend more time by themselves, unclouded by other people's perceptions, judgments, opinions, this, that, and the other, they usually end up discovering what it is that they actually want rather than being clouded by everything else, right? I just find it so fascinating that we're in this era of social media, and how people utilize this platform or all of these different platforms to depict something, right? And it makes them look like they're doing really well. It makes them look like they're happy, right? And then everyone else thinks that they're happy. And I'm not here to say that they are or that they're not, but I am here to look at the cases in which people do that and they're actually deeply fucking miserable with their lives. You know, unhappiness fucking sucks. It really does. It genuinely sucks. It's a shit show of a way to live. It really is. And listen, by all means, I'm not here to shame or guilt anybody or tell people what to do. I'm not. I'm really not interested in that. I may have been interested in that years ago, and I may have made videos where like I was telling people what to do. If you want to depict your life as, you know, this, but it's really that, go right the hell ahead. Go right ahead. I just don't understand why anybody would want to live a life of deep unhappiness, deep unfulfillment, while depicting, you know, the exact opposite. It really is just fascinating to me. And social media has been utilized. Social media is neither good nor bad either. It's just a fucking platform. You can do cool things on it. But yeah, when you realize that you've been comfortably unhappy, it's a strange thing to be like comfortably unhappy, because you're unhappy but you're comfortable there. And man, I have found myself carrying out the strangest patterns, right? Like, and I do this. I'm going to be totally open with what I do. Something happens in my life, right? And of course, I'm going to take responsibility for these things that I do and actually do the opposite, which is, of course, healing. But I have, like, looked at my life, been really unhappy with it, complained about it, complained to other people, while not doing anything to change anything, you know? All allowing it to remain the same, you know? And I'm pretty fucking done with that. I really am. All of the patterns of codependency have taught me to put Chris last. I've heard people say that you do need to put yourself last, and I completely disagree with that. I really do. I think that you need to put yourself first. I think that you need to take care of yourself so that you can then, as needed, as wanted, put other people next, you know? But I've really just throughout my entire life not at all considered myself. And that is for reasons that I know, but am not really going to get into in this video. I don't know if I'll ever get into them. It's my stuff, my shit, you know. Some really loud bikers out there. Something else that I wanted to touch base on because I think it's very fascinating. I was driving down the road today, and I changed lanes at like the last minute before I hit a red light. And I stopped and everything, but I was kind of like in the middle of the road almost. And I was blocking the you know, the pedestrian walking thing. And a woman kind of like, she didn't like glare at me, but like, you know, it was kind of like one of those like, fuck you, right? And I got really tense. I got really tense. And then that's when I just sat there and I was like, I'm unhappy. I'm generally unhappy. I am. I mean, there are things that are happening in my life that are fantastic. And maybe it's not that I am generally unhappy, but I'm just too stressed. Maybe, yeah, I don't think the generally unhappy part is totally accurate, but I find myself in stress, I find myself in tension, I find myself focused on a future rather than enjoying the present moment and everything. And it's just such a fascinating dynamic because a majority of this comes down to actually Chris not putting himself first, which is a pattern, again, based in codependency. It is a pattern that I've been very familiar with, right? And quite honestly, I'm fucking done with it. I have done, and I'm not going to stop doing things for people. That's not what this is about. I'm not here to say fuck people at all. It's just, I'm looking for much more of a balance now. I don't do enough things for myself. I really don't. I don't listen to myself enough. I don't do what it is that I actually want. I appease. I people please. I put everyone else first. And, you know, again, that's just a familiar pattern. Am I the happiest that I could be? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am going through a lot of healing right now. Have I been unhappy throughout my life? For many different reasons, yeah, I have. I haven't really experienced the healthiest of relationships, and that fucking sucks. Relationships, at least what I'm looking for now and moving forward in life, I'll end off with this, is a mutual back and forth, give and take. And for a majority of it, I really haven't had that. That's really what I'm working on right now. I think too much about things that I don't need to. I give in to patterns that are unhealthy. And that's what this comes down to. This is me resigning from unhealthy patterns for the fucking win.